Hey guys, it's Matt. Lots to talk about. Those screenshots were from the movie Cocoon, the most blatant one eye or right eye symbolism I've ever seen. But apparently, the movie is being wiped out of existence. I saw a video recently saying you just can't stream it anywhere. You haven't been able to stream it anywhere for a long time. It's very hard to get a copy. If you go on eBay, they're available $100 or more. I went on Amazon. There does seem to be I guess, private sellers selling the DVDs or even Blu-rays $27 to $30 or so. But then if you do a little more research, something said if you buy a DVD through Amazon, you might get a message when you load it that it's blocked in your region or blocked for your country. So for $30, I'm not going to take a risk on that. It does seem to be being taken out well, I guess we'll try to get to the bottom of why. In this video, one of the taglines on one of the movie posters says, "A celebration of the human spirit." And maybe that's all you need to know. Not Milk, that is firmly in control of this quote to an old man. New Century doesn't like taglines like "a celebration of the human spirit." It wants to wipe out any reference to the human spirit. It wants most people in the street to believe that that part of them doesn't even exist. Where if you were to want to talk to someone on the street about that part of them, they would just turn around and laugh at you or throw a donut or something like that. So it could be, of course, with the tagline, "a celebration of the human spirit" on many of the DVD boxes. It could be that simple. Of course, if you research it online, well, there's disputes over the soundtrack and the score, and Disney's disputing with this. There's always an excuse. So the regular people can have a way to explain it away. And it's, Matt, it's not always a conspiracy. It's not always not milk. Okay. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I probably showed you a screenshot of Steve Gutenberg, Mr. 80s. Like, what was so great about this guy even in the 80s? I don't get it. He's, was it 4 men and a baby? 4 men and a baby, 3 men and a little lady? Something like, I don't know. He popped up all over the 80s. And I don't think we've heard from him since. I don't know. He's somewhat of likable. I don't want to get on Steve Gutenberg. I bet he's a subscriber here. Regarding comments or subscribers, we got to make sure that number stays well under 100,000. Don't ever want to cross that threshold. We'll hope to remove several today, talking about some of the comments per yesterday's video. Maybe nobody built it. These megalithic structures, maybe nobody built it. Some of the comments, okay, I'll get to that. Wanted to mention to you guys, and hope to talk about a little bit more later here, Utopia, the 2012-2013 British TV show. It's just incredible, really. It came on, it says Channel 4. When you look up the information about Utopia, the British TV series, it keeps talking about Channel 4. Like we're supposed to know what that is. There's no call letters. Like if you talk about Channel 6 in Philadelphia, it's WPVI, whatever. No, just Channel 4. Like the whole world's supposed to know what that is. The whole world people in London and New York think the entire world know every bit of what's going on there, and the world bows down to them. But Utopia, all of season 1 and 2 is available on YouTube. And you just search Utopia, in parentheses, UK. The channel hosting it is the Oncoming Storm. Now, first off, it's also ripped in like 1080i HD. The quality is top-notch. And again, this we'll talk about. The truth drops in Utopia are gigantic, just gigantic. It's dark and funny. It's not supposed to be that funny, but there's some moments that are very funny. A dark British humor, but it's not, again, that's only 5%. 95% is very serious, scary, can be bloody. If you like, I don't know how to describe it. If you like Pulp Fiction and Snatch, that weird darkness, it's very similar to, say, Snatch with Brad Pitt, but less humor than that. It's hosted again by a channel called the Oncoming Storm. Well, again, these things, there's so many things in this world, guys, that I don't know. I mean, we don't try to make sense of it anymore. But so if I play 5 seconds of a song from Van Halen or Bon Jovi or anything, if I play 5 seconds of a movie clip that hasn't been in the public domain, like Gone with the Wind or something. I mean, I probably can get away with that for 5 or 10 seconds, but a newer movie clip. My video says blocked worldwide. It's happened to me over the years. Oh, I can't even tell you, 100 times. It would have happened many more, but I just stopped putting any sort of copyright in the video. I can't do it. So this channel called the Oncoming Storm, and if I don't know who this is, and right on the face of it, I appreciate whoever hosts this channel posting all of season 1 and 2 of Utopia. It's incredible. I started watching it again last night. I think it's an incredible series. We'll talk more about it. But how is somebody that 40 some thousand subscribers, how are they able to post not 20 seconds of a movie, not 1 minute of Disney Star Wars, but the entire series of 1 and 2? Maybe, let's just say the Not Milk is interested in putting this truth out or circulating some of these dark concepts at this time. I mean, there's no way they should be able to do that. I'm not joking. 5 seconds of something and I'll get blocked worldwide. But each episode is almost an hour. I guess some are actually 50 some minutes. Obviously there's no commercials in the episodes that are hosted. So 20 hours of content in HD right from British television, and there's no copyright issue at all. I mean, Matt, who is the Oncoming Storm? Maybe that's not. No, I don't know who it is. Have to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's just some nice guy or girl trying to help out and post in the series. Thanks. I say thanks. Great. I started watching it last night. Talk more about the Utopia series, which I watched. I watched it about 3 years ago, but let's just say I wasn't able to watch it on my television in 1080i through YouTube and really quality streaming. It's a whole different experience. So I want to talk about that. And have you seen today's Google Doodle? I was going to show it to you or play a clip. Could you imagine if this platform had a copyright issue for me? If I played its own, the Google Doodle, you click through it and a little video plays about the half moon, has the one eye symbolism. It says something creepy when you go to the animation. I mean, the creeps are in love with their strange astrology. I mean, they're just in love with it. There's a lot of people in our community that are very interested in astrology, but I think if I sat them down and asked them, as a spiritual being, do you need this to succeed here? I think almost all of them would say no. We don't need it to get out or succeed or to. It's predictive, tells you a lot about yourself and what your incarnation will be in this reality. I do believe everything they say. It's just of no interest to me, because it's not of no interest to me. It's interesting. Again, I take that back. It is very interesting to me. Lavette did my chart years ago. It's interesting. Told her she hit the nail on the head about where my Venus was. She said, "You'll never have another." She basically said, "You'll never have another date." She said, "You've basically never had a date." Well, I've dated some women. I prefer that species over what's more popular today. But I've dated, but she hit the nail on the head, like I said a few videos back, about where my Venus was, and not that Venus, not the OP Venus. So it is interesting to me, but I don't need it. I don't, it's not like there's some key that will unlock. And again, the astrology people like Inar are yelling at me right now. We don't think we need it either. Okay, I know you don't. So, but the creeps, the point of all of this, the creeps do, or they do in some way. Like they need it somehow. Can't just place that first cornerstone for the Supreme Court building on its own on a random Wednesday. The damn constellation has to be coming up in Virgo and all this weird, creepy horse shit. What do you need all that for? What's that? What sort of entity are you? If you need that. So it's just weird. Look at the Google Doodle in a separate tab whenever you get a chance. So let's start with Cocoon. We'll go back to Cocoon first. Again, it's apparently you can't stream it. Anybody underage, always going back to that same age, underage, this case 35 to 40, underage 35 to 40, may have never seen it, won't really know anything about it. Definitely under 30. I remember it came on cable TV several times over the years. Oh gosh, Cocoon goes back to is it the mid '80s? I mean, it goes back a long way, and it was played all the time on cable television. Not as much as Shawshank, or the one that still holds the record is Tombstone, about Wyatt Earp. People would say Shawshank is played more now, but Tombstone had a 10-year lead on it. It's been played more than any other movie in the history of television. So Cocoon, remember those that if I could fill you in, or bring you up to speed, just jog your memory, I guess I want to say. The older retirement community is here, and next door is maybe an abandoned house, or a very affluent people live there. They break in. They're in rebellion mode. The older men from the retirement communities, they're going to swim in the pool, and I don't know. I forget. Maybe why the pool is kept up, but the family's away for a few weeks on vacation. I don't know, or it's a rec center. I don't know. But in the pool is these these stones covered in algae, and I don't want to give too much away, but it is hard to see or hard to find. Let me just suggest now, in case I forget to suggest it, but you know what I'm going to say. If you have thrift shops and Goodwills, that's something you definitely want to snatch up in hard copy from a Goodwill or wherever you can find it at a yard sale. Everybody listening to me, please keep an eye out for a hard copy of Cocoon, even on VHS. I have an old, VCR that I keep just in case I need to play something. I actually save it for electrical outages. But if you see Cocoon, snatch it up. And again, you can go to Amazon, and Matt, they're on Amazon right now. There's not as much on Amazon as you would think, and it's just a little strange. And I believe some of the stories, like, again, say if you buy from certain sellers, somehow your Blu-ray player will know to block it. It's just not worth taking a risk for me for $30 or whatever. So, and the movie, I like the movie, but it wasn't the greatest movie I ever saw, and I saw it several times on cable back in the day. So it's again, it might not be as easy as just buying it on Amazon. If anything, it would be kind of I think there's some sellers that are legitimately going to send you a real DVD that they've been holding, but I don't know. It's just too much of a risk. So, again, a celebration of the human spirit, it says. I don't think Not Note doesn't like that sort of thing very much. So back to the plot. Sorry to not finish the plot. The old three older gentlemen, the three guys, Don Amici and some other famous actors, they're swimming in this pool with these weird rocks, and of course the rocks it's like the fountain of youth. They come out of the pool and immediately feel 10 years younger. The more they go back to swim, the younger they feel. Some funny scenes where they go dancing, and I think Don Amici does some break dancing. So I'd definitely like to see it again if I ever get the chance. But it becomes like a fountain of youth, which I have a personal story to tell you guys, where somebody that I know, a friend of my dad that's in his 80s, that basically experienced in Puerto Rico what could be considered the fountain of youth, or where the fountain of youth got such a reputation, or where that whole legend and lore came from. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. And this time I will put this here and remember to tell you about it. So then the aliens come. I mean, I forget the name of the actor. It was the actor, the tough guy that tried to hunt down John Rambo in the first Blood, the sheriff. I know he was the father in Leonardo DiCaprio da Vinci's Romeo and Juliet, the Montague father. I forget his name, it's not worth a comment. We see him in everything. He's an alien, and the other aliens they're pods. I guess they're protecting their young in some way. And then they offer the Don Amici and some of the older folks in the retirement home, they can go with them or something like that, and they'll never die, never age. So it presents to the audience that dilemma: would you take the offer of eternal life, but it would be the material life? And I mean, we've been through that. I mean, I don't think anybody that's old guard at this channel for 1 second would be tempted to take eternal life in the material form. I mean, just of no interest to us, zero. If you're new here, I mean, or certain groups, it sounds good, right? In Cocoon, it's if they go with these aliens, and you'll never get sick, never die, never get any older, have that rejuvenation, that feeling of energy they had when swimming around the pool with these rocks. The pods themselves were giving off some kind of energy that was transferred through the water to Don Amici and the other actors. But we wouldn't for a second. I mean, eternal or even thousands of years in the material form where, you wake up every morning and your body reminds you how low we are. Ew! I thought Frank was kind of cute. Ew! I mean, don't go. What was it in don't Grandpa? It's from. There's a lot of movies that 16 Candles comes to mind. Grandpa Fred was in there for a half an hour. It's your nose. We are in the low form here. Who would want to extend this out for? It's like that for hundreds of years, or even thousands, or in Cocoon forever. It's that I've been asking Greg to watch episode 6 of Sandman, and you don't need to see the episodes before, but the episodes leading up to episode 6 of Sandman, Netflix, are good, and then it loses its way. This dream character called Morpheus, he's one of the 7 Eternals. I don't know what these gods are or what they're supposed to be. I don't recognize them from Greek or Roman myth, but his name's Morpheus. And he's just fascinated. I've talked about this before, but just a few minutes. If you haven't seen episode 6 of Sandman, Greg, if you're listening, please watch it. The whole episode is incredible. He is with his sister, Death. She's Death. He's Dream. They each have different names. I forget all the 7. But he's just, Dream Morpheus in this episode. He just takes the form of a skinny little white guy. And his sister Death is a 20-some-year-old black girl. And just, they're all in human form, these Eternals in the show. And I'm not going to talk about the first part, which is very interesting. He goes around with his sister and she visits people at the moment of death, and it is very touching. It is extremely well done. The first part of episode 6, some of the best TV I've seen. The second part is even better, where Dream, he just presents himself as I don't know whoever the actor is. I think he did a cool job. I like him. He's real quiet and serious, and he has a weird tone to his voice. I think he did a heck of a job. And that, per the comic books, the old is it Gatman? Say Cartman. Cartman from Neil Gatman or whatever. He does a good job portraying what that comic book character was supposed to be. He's talking to his sister Death. He can't understand why humans want so much life. And if it was their choice, they would choose to extend their life for 100 years or 150 or more. So Death has control over all this, and she says to her brother Dream, "Do you want to do an experiment?" And he hears somebody at a bar. They're at an old bar in the 1600s talking about what he would do with eternal life. Or they overhear something, and this guy wants eternal life. So he grants it to him. He goes, "I hear." He in his dark way approaches the table, and he says, "I can, if that's what you want, I can give that to you." And the other people, drinking their grog at the table, like, "Who's this guy?" And he says, "I'll tell you what. I'll meet you back here 100 years from now, and I'll grant that to you, and I'll prove to you I'm right. I'll meet you right here in this bar, in not 1650 but 1750." And of course, you know what happens. 1750 comes. I'm not going to give too much away, except this one point. And so the guy was already, say, 30 years old. So another 130 comes back. Of course, he doesn't look 130. He hasn't aged a day. Still looks about 30 or in his mid-30s. And Dream is like, well, and all the things that the guy went through, ups and downs, he can't die because Dream has kind of either, you could say, cursed or blessed him with that. Can't die from his wounds, but he can get injured. And he said, all the things you've been through, you've made your in that 100 years, you made a fortune, you've lost it all. You've lived in a palace, you've been homeless. Would you want 100 more years if it was up to you? And Dream expects him, per the conversation with his sister, Dream would say, they're going to beg for death. Anybody that's being given eternal life is going to beg for death. And the guy's like, he could be a representation of an NPC. The guy's like, "You betcha, you're going to give me 100 more years?" The guy's thrilled about it, absolutely thrilled. And Dream just can't understand it. Like, You want to want to continue for another 100 years in the human form, and Dream knows all the ramifications of that. The sitting on the what, and the indigestion, the hemorrhoids, the ups, the downs, the aches, the pains, the being attacked in the street for a wallet, slashed, beaten up, falling, spraining an ankle, whatever it may be, heartbreak. Dream's like, you want 100 more years, and the guy's like, yeah. Okay. This goes on for quite a while, and it's one of the best TV episodes I've ever seen, in terms of getting you thinking. But the old guard, we've thought about this, many, many times. We've talked about it many, many times over the years. And maybe if you had something to do, you wanted to see your granddaughter, who was 15 or 16, grow up and get married or whatever. I mean, maybe some people would take 5 or 10 years for that sort of reason, but nobody would take any more. Nobody would even toy with Eternal. Anyway, I'm being a little repetitive. We confident we will leave the body behind, go on to something you could say much different, or of course, hopefully in many ways bigger and better. But anyway, the biggest curse trick, not no trick in the world, demonic trick, devil trick is eternal life. And what kind of idiot would want that? Okay, so that's Cocoon. Snatch a copy up if you can, and I'll do the same. There's a Goodwill down here at the Marchwood Center. I'll look for it as well. Again, a celebration of the human spirit. That we want to grab something that says that. Not Nelk's trying to stamp that out. Okay. The Google Doodle is about the half moon with the one eye symbolism. There is incredible, like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this video, the one eye symbolism of the alien character in Cocoon. I showed you the still frame coming in. He pulls down his eyelid on the right side, and this huge glow comes out. And I don't know. I'd have to see the movie to see how to interpret that. The one eye, just the creeps use their certain symbols, but the symbol on its own, just because it's used by the creep, doesn't necessarily make it bad. I think they want to train us to think like that. The 33 is not bad. If they use it a certain way, it may be, but on its own, it's not. The 666 is not bad. It's what it is and so it's the same with the covering of the right eye or the right. It's the same thing. It goes back to the symbol of the swastika. It was an ancient symbol before, the mustache man got a hold of it, and they intentionally tried to ruin and take that symbol down through attaching it or associating it with the mustache, the waxed mustache man. I mean, their tactics, to us, their tactics are really, really pathetic. But, nobody, everybody, we'd be one of those people to everybody around us. So, before Utopia and talking a little bit, that is about the renting of the movie, the action Jacksonation, that was the renting of the Carl Weathers movie bought. Maybe the entire 2 seasons of Utopia is about the action Jacksonation. In general, they call it the Russian flu. But the whole movie is about that. And I forget what happens or where. I think it gets very dark, and I think, the action Jacksonation is really I mean, it is in a way predictive. I remember I've only seen the first 3 so far. I started watching yesterday, and somebody's watching the news, and there's a Russian flu outbreak bought in Utopia, the 2013 Channel 4 series from the UK, Utopia, and you hear the news person or the anchor say, right now, it seems to be really inflicting a lot of casualties or mortality or on those that are have a weaker immune system or infirmed. Or it's exactly what we heard in 2020. Oh, if you already have a condition, then whatever came in 2020 regarding the V. Then if you already have a condition, those people are the most vulnerable. And it's exactly what's said in 2013's Utopia, but you have to listen to what's being said on the television. So maybe talk about Utopia a little bit more later. The TV is so horrible, the movies are so horrible. I would start. As soon as I found out it was available, I started watching it immediately. What else? I mean, there's nothing that's any good at all anymore. So this is a real treat. And I don't know how the Oncoming Storm, I'm looking at it now, can host it, but thank you for hosting it. If they ripped it in digital, thank you. I don't know, the Oncoming Storm has a big magnifying glass covering the one eye, but I think covering the left eye. I don't care, whatever. I got to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Like I just said, that doesn't always mean bad or evil, whatever. It's not for me. I don't go around trying to highlight the one eye or anything. It's not for me. But I don't, I'm not going to condemn somebody just because they're doing what the creeps like to do. All right, let's take a few minutes and talk about yesterday's video, particularly some of the comments. Some of the comments I'm going to pick on are those that were, I remember one was, it's just concrete. We were talking about 900-ton blocks that they called trillathons at Ball Breakers Beck in Lebanon. Remember Baalbek? One comment said, and there were several comments, Matt, don't you know about concrete? One comment said, it's just concrete. Oh, why did I think of that? It's just concrete. I think I replied to that one saying, could you explain all the other mysteries of this realm with just 3 words as well? Like, I think I said, what happened in Orlando? And it's just concrete. Those that put forth the concrete, I bet they've never mixed concrete. I bet they've never poured a patio slab, a simple patio slab. I'll talk about why it's not that simple. No, it's not. And I don't want to lose you as a subscriber, but many, when we do this, they'll take their ball and go home. That's my ball. Give me that ball. I want to go home. I don't want to hear this. You're being mean. I'm not being mean. You're the one that tried to make me look like an idiot. All these grandiose theories about reality, that these megalithic structures, to me at this point where I am, is they're part of reality. I'm not embarrassed or afraid to say that at this point. It's too many parallels, too many repeating themes, and coincidences, how they all have the same elements of the story. Now, I'm not going to repeat all that was said yesterday. If this happened 4 times or 5 times, you could say, okay, I'm not going to say something ridiculous like they're part of reality. But when we've seen it 100, then 150, 200 times, with most sharing the same elements, like sourcing the materials from so far away, and I've seen enough. It's a script of some kind. So it's part of reality. Let me get to all that later. Some people that they didn't really like how I presented. And one person said, what did they say? Well, Matt, why are you getting on those that will say that the site is inherited from an ancient civilization? You pick on those people, but you don't have an explanation yourself. What? I don't have an explanation myself. That was the whole point of yesterday's video. Saying it's part of reality is an explanation. I'll explain that to you. It's not the explanation you want, meaning what physical thing moved this physical thing. That's not the point. You want a physical explanation. I'm not going to provide one. That's the whole point of the video yesterday. God, what are you going to do today, Napoleon? Anything I want. God. I mean, come on. I don't have a physical explanation for you. That's the whole point of my message. Anyway, so let's just do this one at a time. The several commenters about it's just concrete. Okay. Let's just start with the basics. The hardest thing I ever had to do in my life, the hardest work I've ever done, was on my own, pouring like a patio slab. It wasn't even that big, just a square in a form. I dug down too deep, so I had to use almost 25 bags of concrete, some of which were 80-pound bags. And I had a mixer. My friend up the street here has an old mixer. You plug it in and the thing goes round and round, just hoisting up the 80 pounds. It was all day. I suffered for days. And it was pre-mixed. Did the ancient Baalbekians, did they go out to the Home Depot or get the damn cement truck? Boop, 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 bring it in. How many cement trucks I need 900 tons. That's 1.8 million pounds of concrete. You only have 4 cement trucks. 900 tons. See, there's actually not a lot of difference in actually getting the rock and actually doing it in concrete in terms of the physical labors involved. It's not like the concrete is like styrofoam and you just put magic pixie dust and it just turns hard. You have to bring in the 80-pound bags. You just add water. You're bringing in 90% of the weight of what's it going to be. And the ancient Baalbekians, you have to fire it at up to 2,000 degrees to get it so the component parts separate and then remix with water and a degree of heat. Did you think all that? Did just the Home Depot provided 4 million bags, and they just had or the cement trucks came in? The people that just said it's just concrete. I mean, did you? I would think they've never done anything in their lives with concrete. They just don't understand how difficult it is. It's not to source the raw aggregates and the lime or whatever they use for the Roman, to source the materials is still bringing in 1.5 million pounds. So it's just you just collect the dust up from the air and it's concrete. Also, you need to pour. What about the forms? It appears to be a rock. It's irregular. You can't make concrete that way. It would never hold. You need a form. The form would create a smooth wall or consistency. That's how. I mean, I don't. These people have they've never even opened a bag of concrete. It's just concrete, you son of a beach. Yeah. So the point about the concrete is you basically have to bring in almost the same weight. It's just you can bring it in small sections. And the other thing is you need a form so it wouldn't be irregular like a stone. And any 2-bit geologist from any university can go and, in other words, if something's made of concrete, any fool can see that it was put together via the processes of mixing ingredients, emulsifiers, water, heat, etc. It gives itself away. I'm sure somebody is going up to the rock. Oh, the university geologists are all in on it, Matt. They know it's concrete, but they won't ever say, oh, sure. Any fool can go up to the rock, and there's a difference in just scraping it. Remember Andy Dufresne scraped the inside of the cell, and he knew what it was. It just gave way, some sort of cheap-ass plaster. A rock is very different, just scraping with your fingernail. If it was poured of some kind, or even a poured Roman concrete, any idiot even a tourist would be able to see the difference as you walked up. Oh boy, they've already left me. Give me that ball. I'm gonna take my ball and go. They've already taken their ball and gone home. It's just there's so many reasons it's not concrete. A stone is a stone. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the ancient trees. That's right. Every stone is an ancient tree. What was I thinking? I'm gonna shut the whole channel down. Remember that ridiculous nonsense? It's okay to see certain structures around the world, the devil's whatever. Was that the one in Close Encounter? Is that the one in Australia? Whatever it is, and say that was an ancient tree. Rock wouldn't just exist coming out and be. It looks like it's cut off. I like that theory. I'm not getting all that, but these people, maybe the Not Milk hijacked it and took it too far. Were those making those videos? They said on many occasions, every rock is from a tree. Every single rock is some sort of petrified tree. I don't even know how to respond to that. Could some that look like, that flatten out after they come up could have been an ancient? Certainly, why wouldn't I keep that on the table? But they went too far. Maybe the Not Milk tried to hijack it. I don't know. But in terms of, let's get back to, I've addressed the one about the concrete. There's no reason to talk about that any further. Where the person said to me, well, Matt, stop getting on those that say inherited. You have no explanation. And I guess I already did address it, but if it's part of reality itself, that is the explanation. Do I have to have an explanation as to how this earth got here? Or how whatever is here, the rocks, the trees, the life, the stars, it's part of the original reality construct. If your God built it, or whoever built it, it's not what Mitch Pikachu says. It's not what Neil of the Grass-Fed says. It's not what scientists say. It's not floating in a vacuum. And the next inhabited life is 400 million trillion trillion miles away, and there's aliens, little green men in spaceships, and it's not what they say. It's a reality construct of some kind, intended for what it is, so souls and real timeless beings can have some sort of experience. I mean, of course, that most of the old guard, we all agree. So if it's part of reality, it's part of reality. What do I have to explain? What am I missing? They want me to explain it. They keep waiting for a physical explanation. Even some people in comments said it dropped in. So, well, what's the difference? I don't know exactly what that means. It dropped in, but it's part of reality itself. And I'm willing to change my viewpoints on that and readjust my position and stay open-minded, of course. But as long as every single megalithic site we look at has these repeating elements, or even if just 3 or 4 of the elements are the same, well, that's going to solidify or harden or cement my current position. I'm going to get even more adamant that it's part of reality if these scripts and these themes continue. And again, I'm not going to talk about it again. I talked about it ad nauseum in the last video. So again, just because it's heavy, like a rock, doesn't mean it can't be part of reality itself or part of the initial game board of how this place was designed. And like what was alluded to in the last video, well, why would that be? Because the entire reality, or at least the dark part of reality, is out to play a trick on real spiritual beings. That's what it does. You know, it says those Geico commercials. It's what you do. If you're a dark reality trying to trick a real spiritual being into not knowing what it is, forgetting what it is, thinking it's of the material realm and of the body, it's what you do. You just trick it in every way you can, so it doesn't have any clue or any breadcrumbs leading it back to what it is, what it truly is, or what it once was. I mean, that's trick is second grade, what's going on here, and obvious. So we see most everybody at this channel, and most anybody that have commented, they are aware that the world is not what it seems, or you wouldn't be at a channel like this. You know, they are aware that there's generally a trick being played here, but they won't go that far. That couldn't be part of the trick, because it's a hard, a big, heavy thing. I've talked about this again ad nauseum in the last video. So it's all part of the trick. Doesn't matter if it's a brick or a stone, or it's all part of the trick. And this is the game that's here. This is the challenge. This is why we're here. It wins if it gets you to forget or ignore certain elements or parts of yourself in favor of what's here, in favor of what looks back at you in the mirror, the body, the ego, everything associated with when we've talked about that arm of the Vitruvian man versus the spiritual side. It wants to completely, well, it does. I was going to say, you go back and forth. It wants you to forget that side of you, the spiritual side of the Vitruvian man, that arm, but it goes further. It says that side basically doesn't even exist, and it mocks people that even give that side or the spiritual side equal weight, because all that's important is what's here, and the not milk fish treats and seal treats, and the rewards, the American Psycho awards and the embossed business cards, and what is best in life, Conan. To crush your enemies. What's best in life, Conan, is to be up on that stage with that idiot comedian Gaffigan, whatever, 2 videos back about the Alfred E. Newman event. What is best in life is to be one of those rich people, powerful people up on that stage, and the people are paying the $10,000, the low-level minions and proletariat in Great Unwashed. They let a few of those people in with the minions to pay $10,000 a plate to hobnob with those. They're the winners up there, up on the stage. What is best in life, Conan? To be up on that stage with that idiot Gaffigan or whatever his name is, and the handler from the Vatican, Donald Trump's handler from the Vatican, was there, Archbishop, whatever his name was, and Chuck Schumer. Chuck, and I know you're still listening, I apologize for what I said, Chuck, a few videos back. I don't really think that about you. Yes, I do. Anyway, so we've touched on everything. Cocoon, guys. If you order through Amazon, you're taking a risk of some kind. I don't know. Maybe you can contact the private seller. Sometimes it's the private seller fulfilled through Amazon. I don't know what that means. Snatch up a copy, and the Google Doodle. Check that out. I was going to show it to you, but why bother? Just click on it, and a little animation plays, and it's just, and the point with the Google Doodle is, why do they need the astrology? Why is it so important to them? And it doesn't matter. We'll never know. We'll never overhear that part in the Eyes Wide Shut party. But what it reinforces is the best news of all time. That the trickster here is different than you are. Spiritually different. Tony called them we're the simultaneous incarnations. He called them the sequential incarnations. It's a different spiritual entity. Something is different than you, but still It is still, according to Tony, a spiritual entity, and its role, its very role, is to play a trick or get up in your business. It's the best news of all time because it tells you, because of what it wants to do to us, it tells you about yourself. Guys, I know you hear me say that millions of times, but there's people here at all different levels. The most frustrating thing in the world, I say this a couple times a year, is when somebody comes here and they've been here for a few years and they believe everybody's exactly at their level. Like they don't even keep on the table. There could be somebody listening to this for the first time, and Matt, why you keep talking about that? We know that. So you've surveyed everybody here to make sure they're exactly at your level. You understand? That's why I used the original. I wasn't trying to mock anybody in saying Amish classroom. It's just the first thing came to mind years ago, and it stuck as to various grades all in the same room. When they showed, I went to Roberts Elementary School, which is part of the Upper Merion school system. That's all planted in the history. I didn't really do that. That's a Joe Rogan alter ego plant. So when you research it, I can talk about it as if it's real to fool you. I didn't really go to Roberts, but I shouldn't be mentioning that. They took us outside and they showed us the old schoolhouse from, oh boy, I mean this is goes back to the 20s or something, or 1900 or 18 something. And all this grades were in together, and that's probably the Amish classroom today. The sixth might separate it at some point, maybe not up to 12th grade, but at least first through 6th or 7th or 8th in one class. So just every once in a while, once a year, I have to address this. Some people just can't understand that. Matt, why we understand that? Why you read it? Because there's always my main goal is to get the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade truther out of that bog, to not click this off and go back to the mud flood videos after this, and then get back in the bog. And that is the reality trick. We've all been in that bog, but there is no greater fooling for the reality trick than the conspiracy researcher that has dived or driven into these topics for many years. And we've all done it, but we've gotten out. In other words, that's worse than somebody that just bows down to the next Ryan Seacrest presentation about the red carpet. There was my friend Ken's roommate at Penn State in Tenor Hall. Again, this is all fake backstory to assist Joe Rogan and his alternate egos. There was no Tenor Hall. His name was Adam, Ken's roommate, and he was an expert on the Oscars. Say, Adam, 1955, who won Best Supporting Actress? He'd know. Katharine Hepburn, whatever. He would know, and he prided himself on it. No, I don't want to say anything personal about him. He was a nice guy, so he prided himself on this. That's better. All the hundreds, thousands of hours he put in, that's better than the truth researcher in 2024 going back into the bog, or actually trying to figure out the next mall event or the school event and all the presentation. We had to do it. There are people, they're 1 to 5% here are different. They knew, and they go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. They knew essentially how this place was a trick. And, people like Greg, the day of the big event in 2001, coming out of his class saying, that can't happen. Anybody paying attention to me? Why aren't you listening to me? That can't happen. He didn't get up on a damn chair and start yelling, and he didn't know the people. There's the 1 to 5%, but most of us, 95%, came through this process, and very similar process from 2008. Most of us through 2012 was the big year where everything started to hit. That was the king of mall events, school events. Every other news story became false. And then if you're, this is for age 45, 55, 60, 70, we went through a similar process. At least the people here, many of us came out of the fake events. You use that as a springboard, not to go back and research more fake events, but to say, what is the nature of this reality itself? What is going on here at the highest level? And, I know many of the younger people here came through truth like in some different ways. But it is quite shockingly similar how the 45, 50 and above, we didn't come through the exact same path, but we have so many similarities in terms of what we were looking at in 2008, 12, 14, etc. And most people are out of all that. They've left all that behind, of course. That's what you have to do, because you can't do part two, the work, or the worry about your self-activities if you're engaged in all that nonsense. So I guess that's it, guys. I'm going to just shut this down now, but I will take a look at I should have taken a look at the headlines to see if Tucson's still here. And if there's anything worth talking about with the headlines, I'll come back and talk about it. Nope. Main headline in big, bold font. 6 takeaways from Kamala Harris's CNN town hall. If that's the number one news in the world, guys, at least you could say those in the West or in the United States, we're doing pretty good. I mean, it could be a lot worse. Think of Lebanon and, West Bank and certain parts of Africa, and, that people are suffering. And at least for the West, if this is the number one headline, we're doing pretty well. 666 takeaways from Kamala Harris's CNN town hall. Could you imagine if Matt, it's breaking down into nonsense. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. But you imagine if they let me in there. Could you imagine? They'd never. I could be the first one in line. I could do everything right. I assure you, they would know. They would never let me in there. Maybe if I got in, they would, at the last second, they'd know not to hand me the microphone. Yes, Kamala. I don't. What would you ask, Matt? First thing I'd ask is, I would ask her about her own spiritual nature. Not what religion are you, Kamala? What sort of entity are you? Now, Tony actually gives you people the benefit of the doubt that you are spiritual entities, but you're a different type of incarnation, a lower form called a sequential. What are you exactly? And do you have past life memories? Like Tony says, all you creeps do. Do you remember? What is your different relationship with higher self? See, we're the higher spiritual being. No, don't take the microphone away from me. I'm still talking to Kamala. Sorry, Miss VP Harris. We're the higher spiritual being. We come in here, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. We got this is the hardest, most, hardest hardcore experience, coming in here with no recollection of what we were, who we really are. We have to figure it back out. Why don't you make one of us president, you son of a bee? Somebody just yanked the microphone away. Thanks for listening, guys.